Hello, this is Mr. White. We're on Chapter 10, Plants, and this is Lesson 1, What is a Plant? My Planet Diary. How does your garden grow? Students at the Hilldale School in Daly City, California get to play in the dirt during class. The students planted and maintain a garden filled with native species. Native plants, or plants that have been in an area for a long time, can struggle to survive if new plants are introduced. This creates problems for the insects, animals, and other organisms that rely on the native plants. The students spent 3 months removing non-native plants before creating a garden that will help local organisms right outside their school. What characteristics do all plants share? Which organisms were the ancestors of today's plants? In search of answers, biologists studied fossils, the traces of ancient life forms preserved in rock and other substances. The oldest plant fossils are about 400 million years old. These fossils show that even at that early date, plants already had many adaptations for life on land. Better clues to the origin of plants came from comparing the chemicals in modern plants to those in other organisms. Biologists studied a pigment called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a green pigment found in the chloroplast of plants, algae, and some bacteria. Land plants and green algae contain the same forms of chlorophyll. Further comparisons of genetic material clearly shows that plants and green algae are very closely related. Today, green algae are classified as plants. Members of the plant kingdom share several characteristics. Nearly all plants are autotrophs, organisms that produce their own food. With the exception of some green algae, all plants contain many cells. In addition, all plant cells are surrounded by cell walls. Plants are autotrophs. You can think of a typical plant as a sun-powered food-making factory. Sunlight provides the energy for this food-making process called photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, a plant uses carbon dioxide gas and water to make food and oxygen. Plants are multicellular. Except for some green algae, all plants are made of many cells. No matter how large or small a plant is, its cells are organized into tissues. Tissues are groups of similar cells that perform a specific function in an organism. Plant cells. Unlike the cells of animals, a plant's cells are enclosed by a cell wall. The cell wall surrounds the cell membrane and separates the cell from the environment. Plant cell walls contain cellulose, a material that makes the walls rigid. Because their cell walls are rigid, plants look like small boxes. Cell walls make apples and carrots crunchy. Plant cells also contain many other structures. Chloroplast, which look like green jelly beans, are the structure in which food is made. A vacuole is a large storage sac that can expand and shrink. The vacuole stores many substances, including water, waste, and food. A plant wilts when too much water has left its vacuoles. What do plants need to live successfully on land? Imagine multicellular algae floating in the ocean. The algae obtain water and other materials directly from the water around them. They are held up toward the sunlight by the water. Now imagine plants living on land. What adaptations would help them meet their needs without water all around them? For plants to survive on land, they must have ways to obtain water and other nutrients from their surroundings, retain water, support their bodies, transport materials, and reproduce. Obtaining water and other nutrients. Recall that all organisms need water to survive. Obtaining water is easy for algae because the water surrounds them. To live on land, plants need adaptations for obtaining water from the soil. One adaptation is the way the plants produce its roots, as shown in Figure 2. Plants must also have ways of obtaining other nutrients from the soil. Retaining water. When there is more water in plant cells than in the air, the water leaves the plant and enters the air. The plant could dry out if it cannot hold onto water. One adaptation that helps a plant reduce water loss is a waxy, waterproof layer called the cuticle. You can see the cuticle on the leaf in Figure 3. Support. A plant on land must support its own body. It's easier for small, low-growing plants to support themselves. In larger plants, the food-making parts must be exposed to as much sunlight as possible. Cell walls and tissues strengthen and support the large bodies of these plants. Transporting materials. A plant needs to transport water, minerals, food, and other materials from one part of its body to another. In general, water and minerals are taken up by the bottom part of the plant, while food is made in the top part. But all the plant cells need water, minerals, and food. In small plants, materials can simply move from one cell to the next. Larger plants need a more efficient way to transport material from one part of the plant to another. These plants have vascular tissue for transporting materials. Vascular tissue is a system of tube-like structures inside a plant through which water, minerals, and food move. See vascular tissue in action in Figure 4. Reproduction. For algae and some other plants, reproduction can only occur if there is water in the environment. This is because the sperm cells of these plants swim through the water to the egg cells. Land plants need to have adaptations that make reproduction possible in dry environments.